It says, but now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant. That word covenant right there is also testament. But I was reading the French the other day, Sister Ladine was showing us that word covenant, or even when it says Old New Testament, in the French it says alliance, which means covenant. And we're going to see a little bit why, for those that haven't yet, to see the importance why I'm specifying on the word covenant and testament. Now, which of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. This is what we're working on today.
Where are you reading right now?
Oh, Hebrews chapter 8. Hebrews 8, verse 6.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 6. But now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant. The better covenant is the new covenant, and it's better because it is established with better promises. The better promises here is showing that it'll bring you unto perfection. The hope of making the bride, the hope of a resurrection, the hope of an everlasting life that the old covenant could not bring to. The old covenant brought you to the new. The new is what allows you to live on forever. It says verse 7, for if the first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. I mean, there's no need for the second if the first one had no faults in it. Verse 8, for finding fault with them, he says, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, where I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their minds and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, they shall be to me a people. And that's the difference between the old and new covenant that I want to really get you guys to know. The old covenant was written on tablets to be with the people. The new covenant is written in your hearts so it can be within the people. That's when David began to say, Lord, may your word hide within my heart, that I may not sin against you. That was a work now that needs to be done within you. The old covenant was with them. The new covenant, the work of it is supposed to be within you now. Now, verse 11. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to the unrighteous, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. In that, he saith, a new covenant he had made with the first, now which decayeth and waxeth old, is ready to vanish. Let me read that again. The new covenant hath made the first old. Because it's a new, now the first one is old. Now that which it decay and it wax old is ready to vanish away. So that's dealing with the covenant. And the covenant is between you and God. And the covenant is basically this. Is the laws of God that is written in your hearts. And as long as you obey them, there's promises with a covenant. A covenant shows is between, like we said, between the covenanter and the covenantee, the two parties, where one is giving the laws and one is accepting, and as long as you accept to be in the covenant, you must follow the laws. But as long as you follow, there's blessings from it, from the covenanter. Now we want to go to chapter 9. And we're going to go to verse 11. But our main verses is verse 15, is verse 16 and 17. It says, "But Christ being come in high priest of good things to come by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood, he entered in once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us." There's that word redemption again. And it says he did it as he gave up his blood. Verse 13, "For if the blood of bulls and of goats and of the ashes of an heifer sprinkling the unclean sanctifieth to the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living God." Verse 15, important. "And for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament." The New Testament there is talking about the New Covenant. He's also the mediator of the New Covenant. That means that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgression that were under the First Testament, they would, that's still talking about the old one, they which are called might receive the promises of eternal inheritance. Now, before we go to verse 16, in the Old Testament, the reason why it specifies on the blood of goats, a sign that you was in covenant with God began with the blood, the sacrificial, the sacrificial ceremonies in the Old Testament. When people seen you sacrificing to God, that show, once the first shedding of blood began with animals, that was a sign. The shedding of the blood of the animal was a sign to show that the people was in covenant with God. That's why we are part of a new covenant. We are part of a new covenant through Jesus when his blood was shed, when the blood was shed, to show that we're in covenant with God. But remember, to be in the covenant with God, the blood of that lamb must be sprinkled upon you. That's what verse 13 talking about. It says that we don't find our redemption through the sprinkling of the goats and bulls and stuff like that. So we find it through the blood of Jesus, verse 14, which he offered by himself without spot to God, which purges your conscience from dead works to serve the living God. That's one aspect. Now, verse 16. This is where I is important, but I don't want to lose anybody. Because now verse 16 says this: "For where a testament is, there must also of necessity be the death of a testator." It says, "For a testament is of force after men are dead, otherwise it is of no strength at all while the testator live." In verse 8 talks about, "Whereupon neither the first testament was dedicated without blood." See, the dedication of the first testament had to be with blood. That's speaking about testament, the old and new. But this word testament here, I want to say that this is not dealing with the old covenant nor the new covenant. and I want to, and if you